Hey there, traveler. I'm going to thank you in advance for allowing me to have the space to kind of not have all my thoughts fully organized and not just running into a meditation today. To be honest with you, what kind of prompted this was an old friend of mine asking for a little body scan meditation, something to work through, something that brings you back to the present moment, right? In theory, that's what I'm trying to do with every episode here, right? Every little meditation or breath. And I think one of the challenges with that is where I'm sitting at right now. It's a pretty scary precipice to be potentially on. I'm not exactly sure where or when you're listening, what that time is like, and what that space might be for you. But I think until we maybe actually reach whatever state of nirvana or shambhala or whatever it might be, suffering is an inevitable part of life. And currently in the world, the reality that I'm living in, there's some pretty intense rhetoric, some pretty intense actions being taken towards disharmony, more suffering. If you want to hear what's going on in the United States in 2025 and the rise of authoritarianism and fascism, there are many great sources that you can go to. I would refer you to something like the It Could Happen Here network, or even hopping into the Revolutions podcast or something like that. But I think what makes the specific request difficult for me in this moment right now to work through a body scan meditation, to come back to this present moment, it's a hard moment for me to ground to and to want to continue to be in. There's a lot of fear that my body goes through, and I'm having to figure out how to process and be with. There's anger, there's resentment, and there's this deep frustration and energy of not knowing what the fuck to do. Wanting to stand up and resist acts and try to make sure that this world's a better place. I wish I had some magic button that help people come to some collective truth and reality so we could all figure out and get on the same page. Sit down and figure this shit out and talk it out and not lead to people dying because of bad science through bad health administration. Food prices getting harder because of increase of terrorists and the pulling out of the rug of just what is the grift of the economy. All the different things that cause suffering, right? And I'm not here to give you an answer of what the fuck to do on a large scale. I don't know. We can talk on an individual level about how important it is to start building community and resilience. Just being friends, making sure your friends and family are okay. Like building up your individual network so you can be okay and show up and when you need to show up. Whether that's making sure you're getting that extra rest, taking that extra day from work, or showing up and volunteering at a new local community shelter, being of service, getting involved. when someone is being a racist or a anti-Semite, anti-Islamic, any kind of queer phobia, any kind of bigot, any kind of all that, what I'm trying to say here. Say no. There's not a space here for that. The paradox of a tolerant society is it cannot tolerate intolerance, right? The reality of, hey, it's that fundamental agreement, right, of whatever we're Americans, right, quote unquote. We're all Americans, we can agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, we're all here taking care of each other in theory, right? This is our place, it's our home. You can be anything you need to be. And just that complete despair of absolution of not knowing what to do and then trying to show up for the next day, pay the bills, continue to still deal with the cycle. Reminds me of the time when I last did methamphetamine, and specifically at that Taco Bell, when I was about 19. I didn't know what I was going to do next. I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do then. Ended up going into a recovery program and finding a like-minded community of people who were dedicated to working at least this tented program and trying to be better, right? Trying to figure out how to be healthy and be okay and harm reduction and just survive. And realistically, eventually, outside of just a systematic horrors that we live in, how beautiful the individuals in those rooms are. That's why, even though it's far from perfect and has so many challenges, I will forever have a bias and a bright spot towards the anonymous programs, is because of just how many beautiful people are in there. How many amazing stories of resilience and people just surviving. For me, though, my understanding of what recovery is and being healthy really continued to grow outside of a specifically just faith-based program, even if it was agnostic in theory. And for me, personally, I put my 2 kind of cents, if I do have them to spend anywhere, into this kind of forming deconstructionist movement, right? This concept and idea of these people who have grown up and only known one ideology and figured out, hey, that's not maybe necessarily how I align myself with the reality. I don't kind of connect with that. And have figured out how to take the time and space to figure out their own agency and their own relationship with those powers of structure. I know specifically when it comes to deconstruction, it has this narrative that comes around specifically from like Christian and evangelical cultures, but I really want to take a moment to hear and ground, to be right here and actually take a moment to talk. Right now, in this moment, in this time and space that I find myself in, the reality I am living in is dealing with no agreed upon real truth. There is millions of people who have bought into this narrative promoted on hate. That's a lie. That's in falsehood with reality, and they're trying to create their own narratives and trying to fit the narrative to reality, but humans don't have that power. We don't control reality like that. We might be able to control our responses, and hell, we can spin a good narrative. But reality exists whether we like it or do or not, outside of the individual. No one is that God. We are all just people, no matter how much of a dipshit, no matter how much of a good person you are. And being in a space where there are bad actors who are continuing to perpetuate these hierarchical powers of hate, disconnection, and are literally killing the planet, at least the scene of life and how we know it, and are forcing it to transition potentially into new ways as we are creating continued ecological just disaster after disaster. Like David Attenborough is now saying in his latest documentary, the ocean is this place that he grew up in thinking needed to be conquered and tamed, when in reality it needs to be protected and saved. We need to care for these things instead of continuing to harvest them like these insignificant, mindless objects, which they are not. We are a part of these systems that we live in, whether we like it or not. When I really got lost in the existential ooze a few different times in a few different spaces, I remember what one of my religious professors told me. If I take a hammer and I hit my hand with it, something's going to happen. Well, no matter what I want to believe before that moment of impact, no matter what I believe, whatever I hope, whatever I think, there will be a reaction. So, when we are in a time when there are countless individuals and people who don't think there will be a reaction when you hit your hand with that hammer, I don't know how to deal with that on a large scale. I don't know how to de-radicalize an entire population. Post-World War II, it took a hell of an effort. And the suffering that the individuals in Germany and the polarization in the world that caused afterwards is still being felt. I just listened to a series about Pol Pot. And Cambodia is still not recovered from that trauma. Just continuing to perpetuate these cycles is definitely probably an option, because humans continue to rhyme throughout history. Not necessarily repeat, but continue to rhyme over and over again. I think if we do look to these ideas of breaking cycles and potentially finding samsara, or breaking samsara, I should say, it's looking to these individuals like, I can't apologize, traveler, I can't think of their name, but this one individual who befriended several Klansmen, and because he uses his ability as a black man to be able to connect with these Klansmen, as they use people to get them out of their worldview, see them as people too, essentially deconstruct, right? When I went through my treatment, my recovery program, right, being able to figure out what my relationship with my higher power was, and my relationship to those institutions, and take the time and space to heal myself and discover my own agency in that, deconstruct out of the systems I was raised in, and eventually even my understanding through, weirdly enough, again, Buddhism of all places, of my non-binary gender and that existence of my state of being. Freaking Rhett and Link on Good Mythical Morning talking about it in their spiritual deconstruction very much. And countless other individuals of cultures across the world, and all their own different ways and on their own different paths. I don't think that there's ever good to use a giant umbrella term for these different things, because these are individual stories and individual people going through just their lives. But this concept of deconstruction, that's the conversation that I hope we can somehow translate out inside of this one cult narrative, this doomsday accelerationist narrative, that we are only on this one trajectory because of these fucking assholes. I just don't think that's true. The reality has continually showed us that when the great idiots throughout history present us the opportunities to collapse systems and take things into new pathways and new options and modes of existence, you can heal. You can take care of each other. You can make the world better. We can have these different worlds where we don't have to work 80 weeks in the coal mines and all die a black lung. Or be starved out because we have to export all the potatoes because the UK needs to make sure that they're still making sure they're in the black and not the red. I think it's definitely possible for us to understand of all the good that we have done, the insane technologies that we have created. We can talk about the miracles of medical science all day long. Every time I get the opportunity to talk to my grandparents, that is the thing they continuously tell me, just completely blows them away, they've seen over their lifetime. And I am not willing to watch some fucking doomsday cult fucking leaders fucking throw away the years and hard work that we have taken to overcome diseases like polio, to fucking finally actually hopefully get the social equity we need to deal with tuberculosis, to potentially see a cure for some of these cancers, an actual cure for HIV and AIDS, for cures and diseases that we never thought would be possible to manage at one point. A world where we have a food system that doesn't rely on causing the global extinction of all other life forms maybe would be pretty cool too. I think that it's possible for us to take the lessons that we have learned, take the time, make mistakes, be bad at it, but figure out a way to deconstruct, not collapse, not just say that there won't be markets outside of capitalism. So, not saying that everyone needs to share the communal fleshlight under communism or something like that either. I don't think we figured out exactly the right ideology that works for humans in a complete way. But we figured out a lot of cool ways to do a lot of cool different things. And I think that we owe it to ourselves to take the time to ground here and realize this shit's got fucked up. We need to take a moment and we need to figure out how to take our next step forward. And ideally, if we can take a larger cultural narrative conversation around deconstruction, maybe move it outside of just specifically an individual hierarchical relationship with one's institution of power, but take it to this insane institution of power. Maybe we can figure out the next step forward. The path that actually breaks the cycles. That ability to finally, meaningfully fulfill the promise of every parental generation and actually leave the world a better place for those who come after us, all beings. And in order to do that, I think we need to take a moment to come back to our breath. So if you will, say, I do want to say, traveler, thank you for being in this space for the ramble. Wherever space you might be in. For me, I had a pretty crazy day that was full with a lot of excitement and a lot of laughing and a lot of warmth and a lot of love. And I'm very grateful for that. I had some pretty hard challenges in it. Wasn't expecting to look into seeing broken bones or anything like that, but hey, that happens sometimes. After this, I'm going to be reading Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut. Working through all my little audiobooks right now. Trying to get caught up and make sure I finish a book in time to discuss it during my book club. In the space I'm inhabiting, it's pretty interesting actually. With the roof, how it's aligned, it gives the illusion of more space, but how the bed's aligned with it, I feel pretty trapped in. But the space is cozy. It's very still. What's the space you're in? What's going on around you right now? Is the air moving? How still is it? Do you hear anything? Is there any rumbling, noise in the far distance? What's the temperature like? For me, it's just a little bit chilly, but the ambient temperature is real nice. I'm able to, honestly, be here shirtless, so it's getting pretty steamy in here, traveler. What about you? Are you comfortable or uncomfortable? It's kind of funny. Either you, if you are or aren't, you still are. Do you taste or smell anything? For me, I've been rambling now for about 20 minutes or so my mouth's a little dry if I'm not going to lie. So as you check into your senses around you, I'm going to take a moment to drink. Now that we take a moment to have at least a little bit to observe the space around us, let's take a moment to check on what's going on with our body. So wherever you're at, whatever position you find yourself in, close your eyes if you're safe to do so. Or, at least to the best of your safe ability, bring your attention. Where might you ask? To the top of your head. Right at the tippy top. What's going on up there? As we bring our awareness through the top of our head, down into our brow, kind of like a ring around our head. Even on the backside, I know it's weird to think what feels go on back there. But as it keeps going down, coming back through our face, working through our cheeks, our jaw, right through the jaw to where it connects back to the head again, right at the base of the skull. Just kind of notice what your body's doing along this journey. Now that we're at the base of the skull, working down through the spine and the neck, into maybe giving a few rotations. Rotate the head to the right 3 or 4 times, or any ever times you feel like. Just go nice and slow. And feel what's going on. We'll go ahead and alter the direction. Make sure you give it a good 3 or 4 times. Just taking your time to observe what you're feeling. You got some weird little creaking sounds. That's how I know this body's getting older. Now that we're at our shoulders, next time, roll them out. Just open them up here for a moment. Let's get some rotations here real quick. Go ahead and take about 30 seconds. Just do the same. Rotate them back and forth. Open them up, whatever direction you need to. Don't forget to breathe while doing it. In and out. Ten more seconds. Now we bring our awareness back through our shoulders, coming back to a still position. Through our shoulders, we're going to go down through our biceps. Ooh, maybe a little tension right there. Maybe that's just me. Work through the elbows and the forearms. Or take a moment to really feel our wrists. Any tension? You hold on to anything? We'll go through our fingers, starting with the pinkies. And we're twitching. Ring fingers. Ooh, holding on right there maybe. That's a hard one to let go of, the fingers. Middle. Index. And thumbs. Ooh. Little flicker. We'll come back up to the top of the chest. We're going to take a moment just to feel the breath. Once we come to the top of breath, we'll bring our attention back to the chest. And start working our way down on the exhale into our bellies, down into our pelvic muscles, and then we're actually going to bring our attentions all the way around to the tailbone. I'm going to take a moment to bring it all the way up the spine, back up to the crown, bring it all the way back down the spine, through the core, back into the hips. Through the hips, the groin, the butt, always the butt. Take a moment to just sit there, stand there, release. Through the legs, those thighs, powerful thighs. Knees, not as powerful. Every human's weakness, but still doing their best. The calves, and it's those ankles. Doing so much hard work in those ankles. What a great joint. What a great joint. That's funny. And finally, dig into the deep of those heels. I guess humans might do have souls, and we're going to follow that through the bridge, the sole of the foot. Give those toes a nice wiggle. Squeeze them and release. Now we'll just take a moment to come back to the breath. And we'll take 1 minute just worrying about breathing. I will say, as you take this space to work on your breath, an affirmation or two doesn't hurt. And if you are here in this space right now, you are enough. You are a being who doesn't have to suffer and has the ability to help lead this dharmatic wheel to a place where everyone can be treated with equity and doesn't have to suffer. And just like that, you've been breathing for a whole minute, and I'm proud of you. So, traveler, wherever the space that you find yourself in right now, you have this ability to stop, come back to your breath, take a moment, deconstruct, figure out, hey, what is going on here? What is my reality? And figure out what that next step forward is. You are loved, and you are enough.